welcome to Being Me in the Midwest. Today I'm going to be making easy fajita sliders, and at the end you'll see me make quick and easy breaded mushrooms using 2 ingredients in my Ninja Foodi Grill. To start, I'm going to set my stove to medium high and add butter to my pan. I'll show each ingredient as I'm working, but you can get the list and recipe down below in the description box. While you're there, go ahead and hit that subscribe, notification, and like button. That way you'll see all the delicious content that I post. So on to these sliders. Today I'm using the fajita vegetable mix. It's frozen and you can get that at your local grocery store. You can also use freshly chopped peppers and onions, but today I'm just using what I got. So I'm just going ahead and dumping those in my pan. And then I'm going to just go ahead and give those a nice good toss in that butter. So as you can see here, I'm using the great value pepper and onions. So after my vegetables start to soften, I'm going to go ahead and season them with some steakhouse seasoning. Give them a nice good coating. You can add whatever seasoning you'd like, but I didn't want anything that was going to compete with the flavor of my fajita meat, which is already pre-seasoned anyway. And again, I'm just going ahead and give it a nice good toss. So once those start to cook down more, I'm going to go ahead and add my meat. So again, with this recipe, we're keeping it quick and easy. So I'm just going ahead and using the John Souls pre-cooked beef steak. Initially I had 4 packs, but I ended up only needing 3. So once I get those all dumped in there, I'm just going to get them all nice and mixed up with those vegetables. And because the meat is already pre-cooked, really what I'm doing is just making sure that it gets nice and heated through. Again, you could also use steak that you've pre-cooked. I like sometimes to use old steak. So while my fajita and vegetables are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start prepping for my slider buns. And here what I'm doing is just preparing the roast pan, putting some foil down just so it makes the cleanup a little bit easier. And again, I'm just going in and giving the meat mixture a periodic toss. I like to do this one so that the meat isn't sticking to the bottom of my pan. Also, just making sure that everything gets all the way nice and heated through. Even though I am going to be sticking this in the oven, I really want my meat mixture to be heated all the way through. I'm not depending on the oven to cook the meat. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and begin prepping for my sliders. I'm going to go ahead and give the meat mixture another toss before I do. And as you can see, I've had the temperature on medium high, so I've just turned it down a little bit to medium as it's almost done. So for the slider buns, what I'm going to be doing is I'm using 12 of them, and I'm going to put them down in my roast pan, and I want to make sure that each row is close together so I'm not leaving a gap. This is going to make it easier when I put the meat mixture down, that it's not going to be falling in between the buns and that all the meat mixture is going to be getting on the buns. So once I get all of the buns down in the roaster pan, I'm just simply removing the tops of the buns, and I'm going to sit those off to the side with the insides facing out, and that's going to make prepping for the buns easier because I'm going to be putting a thin layer of Miracle Whip down. So I'm just giving the meat a final toss, and we're going to go ahead and get those turned off. And then we're going to go ahead and set our oven to somewhere between 325 and 350. So I'm just using Miracle Whip. And really, guys, you only need a thin layer, enough to give the bun some flavor and help the meat mixture stay on the bun, but you don't need a lot, unless you want. So sorry for the poor angle of the camera. I'm going to try and get better at that as I'm prepping things off to the side, but really all I'm doing is putting a thin layer down on each bun. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a thin layer down on the top buns as well. So here I'm just finishing up the slider buns with the Miracle Whip. And I'm getting ready to put the meat on and then sprinkle them with some shredded cheese Here I'm using the Fiesta blend, but again, you can use whatever type of cheese you'd like. So there's no particular way that I'm putting the meat on other than just making sure that each bun has enough of the meat and vegetable mixture. Again, because I've put the rows together, I don't have to worry about any of the meat really going between them. Man, let me just tell you, this meat was smelling so good. It took everything in me not to just go ahead and grab a piece and taste it. So 3 packs of the meat that I used really did give a generous amount for each slider. So on one side of these sliders, I was very generous with the cheese as I really enjoy cheese. On the other half, I just put a little bit of cheese, just enough to give it a coating, but not to overdo it. So as you can see, one side has more on it than the other. And after that, I'm just going to go ahead and lay the top buns now on top. And because again, I've put them all together in a row, they really do just go back on very easily. So for the final part of the sliders, what I do is take some butter. Again, I'm using, I can't believe it's not butter. And I'm just giving a thin coat on top of the buns. I didn't do it in this one, but in the past I have sprinkled a little bit more of the seasoning on top of the butter of the buns just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. But yeah, there's nothing really fancy about this part other than just putting on the butter. And then we're going to just go ahead and get those in the oven. And really the purpose of putting them in the ovens is just to toast the buns lightly and get that cheese melted. Again, the mixture is already cooked. And this is what it looks like coming out of the oven. So the buns are nice and toasted, cheese is all melty. So stay tuned, and you're about to see how I make the quick breaded mushrooms. I've already got my mushrooms with the egg wash on them, and in the bowl was the lemon pepper seasoning. So all I'm doing now is just shaking all of that up and putting them into my Ninja Foodi air fryer. So I'm using the air fryer feature on this. So this was my first time actually making the breaded mushrooms. And again, I just wanted something quick and simple to go with my sliders. So I didn't want to do anything that was going to take a long time. So because I had forgotten to spritz the mushrooms with oil, I went back in and did that. I'm using the, I believe it's the grapeseed oil. I give the pan a little bit of a shake. And then just spray it a little bit more. Again, I want all of that breading to get nice and crisp. I do have the air fryer set to 20 minutes. And I think about maybe halfway through is when I started to shake it. And now I'm just turning them over a little bit. But that's what they look like coming out. And this is what it was like when it was on the plate. They were so good. The sliders were delicious. The breaded mushrooms were so good.